Can I read this from Tacticus?
Yeah, go ahead, Yash.
Tacitus said a few authorities hold that in the reign of Isis, the surplus population of Egypt was evacuated to the neighboring lands under the leadership of Hierosolumus and Judas. Many assure us that the Jews are descended from those Ethiopians who were driven by fear and hatred to immigrate from their home country when Cephas was king. There are some who say that a motley collection of landless Assyrians has occupied a part of Egypt and then built cities of their own, inhabiting the lands of the Hebrews and nearer parts of Syria. So that's how we get these people, like in Syria, Iran, and all these other lands that are different people. But here, Tacitus, whom he quoted before, describes us as of an Ethiopian stock.
Right. So you have a lot of comparisons of ancient Israelites being compared to other groups, surrounding groups. And when you look at these groups, or you see what they look like, it automatically lets you know what the ancient Israelites look like. Go ahead, you got it.
How many roads, too many signs, I can't read them. Wouldn't recognize the turn even if I seen it. Been driving all along, feel like I'm dreaming. Okay.
I'm glad the gentleman brought up the Tacitus passage. Could I show on the screen the Tacitus passage? It's from History 5. You know, he was reading something that's real. I don't, you know, that's legit. But could I show everyone the rest of the quote here?
Absolutely. I'm gonna let another brother in as well while you're reading that.
All right. So I hope everyone can see this. I've got it. Well, no, that's too big. Okay. So here's the part I believe that he read up into about here, right around there. Or a little bit farther, but it does say what he said. It says no debate, no denying. It says Ethiopian origin, right?
Right.
Now go down a little bit farther.
It does say what he said. It says no debate, no
denying. I hear an echo here.
Oh yeah, somebody might have to mute out the YouTube.
Yeah, Jedi. Yeah,
on YouTube.
Okay, so look what in the next part says here. Others describe them as an Assyrian horde who, not having sufficient territory, took possession of part of Egypt and founded cities in their own in what is called the Hebrew country, lying on the borders of Syria. Others, again, assigned a very distinguished origin to the Jews, alleging that they were from Salmi, a nation celebrated in the J poems of Homer, who called the city which they founded Hieroslamia after their own name. Now, the reason why I bring that up is what Tacitus is discussing in this section of his histories is various theories of the origins of the Jews of his day, right? Which, if you read his other quotes, he had very dishonorable things to say about them, if you read what Tacitus said. In fact, he even writes about Christ in kind of a dishonorable way, and Christians themselves. Now, the reason why I bring that up is, well, it also says they could be from the Assyrian horde. Well, what do Assyrians look like?
And when you look at the pictures of the Assyrians when they was taking the Jews into captivity, they were brown skinned.
Well,
they were brown skinned people. No, I'm just talking about. You say, what do they look like? They have pictures of them. They have pictures of them on their wall. They have pictures of them with the hooks in their lips. With like the Most High said, He was going to have them remove us put hooks in our jaws. They have pictures of them moving us out. They were the same complexion of those other people.
Well, they're not the same complexion as Ethiopians. That's incorrect.
Ethiopians come in all shades, and
so do Assyrians. So do Assyrians, but Assyrians cannot be Assyrians cannot be described either then or now.
Now they can't. Since the Jews went down there, I mean, not the Jews. Since the Romans went down there, invaded, and Europeans invasions, those people were lightened. And then again, we'd have to
hold on. I mean, we gotta have evidence for that. So I have some Assyrians.
Okay.
I have some. I'm saying I have some. So I have a number of Assyrian.
You want evidence? I'm gonna have to pull up some evidence.
I don't disagree that Assyrians were brown.
Okay.
Well, some were brown, but Assyrians, you know, remember they had an empire, and so they encompassed a lot of people. So you have all kinds of people in there, but there's sort of the stock of the Assyrians themselves.
You know what?
And modern day Assyrians, you know, I have a number of friends, and they actually still speak some of the languages, because a lot of Assyrians are Christians now.
And this what I knew one, but this is what I wanted to address.
But even back then, you couldn't describe them accurately as a black people. Okay. You could definitely describe them as a brown people. At least I don't deny that. But my point is, he's giving multiple origin stories for the Jews, right?
And yes, he is.
And they're not all looking like Ethiopians. This other place, I think,
not
is
all
Greece.
of us are.
Huh?
And not all of us are, because the scripture says we have a more sure word of prophecy.
I know. I don't.
So that means prophecy takes precedence over everything.
I know,
else.
But hold on. Do you see that's a little?
That is the truth.
I know what you're saying, but it's
more
a little
sure than it takes precedence.
I agree. I'm a sola scriptura guy, but when we're doing research into these subjects, you brought up a quote from Tacitus. It's a little unfair for when I read the rest of the quote for you to say, well, let's only read the Bible.
No.
Because you read the quote. I just wanted to read the rest of the quote.
And that was excellent, what you did, brother. Wait, listen.
Were y'all discussing?
I agree with it. That was excellent.
And that's all I was saying. He gives other points of origin, and they wouldn't all align with the Hebraic. And that was fair. The thesis.
Were y'all discussing whether the Assyrians look like the Hebrews?
Well, this is the origin of what we're discussing is the actual identity of the Israelite people. Are we the Israelite people, or are the people today who claim to be Israelites or claim to be Jews the Israelite people? And we're going into some old sources dealing with the identity of the Israelite people, what they look like, and they dealt with Tacitus. Let me say this one point, and then I'm gonna pass it over to you. That source, if you still have that source, what he's doing is he's giving you the multiple connections or the multiple how can I put it, varieties of what these people are compared to. So he's comparing them to different groups. And if you mentioned the Ethiopians and the Egyptians, but then he mentions the Assyrians, right? And who else did he mention?
Also Ptolemy, which I believe is from the Greek mythology, basically Salamis, which supposedly these people inhabited an area around Anatolia. Southwest Anatolia specifically. That's the other place that Tacitus says here. I'll bring it up on the screen real quick again if I can. Okay. And so that shows that that would be yet another different point of origin. So only one of them would match with the idea of the kind of like the Hebrew Israelite idea.
Only one of them matches with scripture.
But see, this one is actually closer, because watch this. Look at this. Others again assign a very distinguished origin to the Jews. Notice Tacitus thinks that this one's more distinguished than the other theories, alleging that they were the Ptolemy, a nation celebrated in the J poems of Homer. So, Homer, famous Greek poet, wrote about this, but the region would have been around Anatolia, who called the city which they founded Hierasolimi after their own name. Now that, interestingly enough, could be considered a Greek version of the word Jerusalem. According to some sources, meaning this one at least gets one part perhaps right, even though it seems to be based upon a mythical people, from what I can tell. But see, that at least that has some element where it matches up. You have Jerusalem there, and all I'm saying is, when we look at this, you mentioned one, but this is in a section in which he's giving multiple possibilities for the origin of the Jews, right?
Right.
And
so
that's what I'm saying.
One of those possibilities is Assyria, correct?
Right.
Yeah, it says others describe it as an Assyrian horde, not having sufficient territory, took possession of part of Egypt.
Right there,
Assyrians who went to Egypt.
That description right there proves to you that the children of Israel were black, because the Assyrian captivity has to do around the time also of the Medes and Persians. And during that time period, the children of Israel were in captivity to Assyria, and Esther was the queen of the king. And she was mistaken for a Hebrew. Mordecai told her not to discover her identity, and the king couldn't even tell that Esther was an Israelite. So that tells you that the Assyrians and the Israelites had to have had a similarity in complexion and possibly hair type. And today, that area is like Iraq, and Iran, which a lot of the ancient people from Iraq and Iran are darker than I am, or brother on the panel. So that tells you that the Jews were black. And a matter of fact, one of the curses of the daughters of Zion mentioned in the book of Isaiah chapter 3 says that their hair would be cut short for rebellion. And so because of that curse on the daughters of Zion, a lot of them get weaves in their hair, and a lot of that weave origins from those areas. And when they have their long straight hair on, a lot of them could be considered or even look similar to women of that region. The darker skinned Persians, Iranians, and Iraqi women sometimes can look like Hebrew women when the sisters wear the straight texture weaves on their hair. So that just verifies that the Jews are black.
No, we'd have to see what you're talking about so we could know that for sure, right? We've seen all kinds of things here, and every time we've had an alternative that's more valid. For example, Tacitus with the origins of the Hebrews. They could be Assyrian, they could be from an island around Greece.